Okay, hello everybody. Today I'm hopefully rapidly going to be going through the 12 remaining songs in the Guitar Hero All Strums series. So I've done these videos in the past for the 150% spreadsheet. This clearly is the All Strums version, not requiring any speed up at all. And for 11 out of 12 of these songs, I would definitely suggest that they will be done at 100% speed. One of them, not necessarily, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So I'm not going to do it in any order of difficulty whatsoever. I'm just going to go through the games left and the songs within them that aren't FC'd in any capacity as of yet. It's very rough at this point, barring that one song. I think even getting to 650 would be particularly difficult, meaning only two more of these songs. And the reason for that is that, well, let's face it, trills and tapping patterns in general are absolutely brutal on all strums, at least for me they are. Some people have workarounds for trills, some people are able to do the whatever they call it, taco breaking, slide spam, and it just hits stuff in Uber song or whatever, so maybe you could do that. And obviously some people are just very good, like Darkly, who has a -3 on Through the Fire and Flames, but I will comment on these songs when we get to them. So that's enough preamble, I think. We'll just move on into track number 1, which is Raining Blood from GH3. Two things to show off here. First of all, let me actually make sure I have all strums on. And I'll forewarn, I'm not warmed up, as I absolutely never am for these videos. So, this is the greatest hits version. So we want to look at the GH3 version. Mosh 1, perhaps the first bit of note, wouldn't really stop anyone from seeing the song though. Yeah, just that one strum at the beginning of each set that could probably mess you up there. But that's negligible basically compared to Flood. So some very fast trills in the absolute fastest of which come right at the end. Myself can't really even combo it. I think there has been some progress on this song by Cyan Crayon at the very least. Whether others have looked at it, I don't know. Probably not, because right now there isn't too large of a following for this sheet, so that's why I thought it was actually valuable making this video, because it is quite far along. Only 12 songs left, but yeah, Raining Blood, you will be able to tell why all of these songs are UnFCed, barring one. And I don't mean this one. This is a Guitar Hero 3 version, but both versions are UnFCed. So mostly a one-section song, but I'll show off what you would need to do to even transition into it, which is something you probably would want to consider if you're going to rake the section. Gives a whole new meaning to the Darkness Fast Bridge transition, because it may mean that you would be switching raking patterns perhaps, maybe not. And the rest of the solo just to see what it's like. These are your choke spots. Fast solo B, D, a little bit missable. I wouldn't say they're necessarily that much harder than they are normally, because they are just patterns in sets of 3, much like the trips. As far as one-handing solo A, it has been done more often than one-handing flood even. I wouldn't say this song is easier though, because the actual raw speed required, like how fast actually is fast solo A. So one set of triplets, we're talking, you know, I'm the 1 speed strumming, but you're probably going to rake it. I would think everyone would, especially considering you're going to have to focus on doing triplets at the same time. Best method, perhaps a 3-3 rake, but I'm no expert on this sort of thing. A 3-3 rake would also trivialize the transition, because you're just doing up and down and then go into it. And also you've got to transition out into the orange wall, so yeah, a lot of stuff to consider there. Through the Fire and Flames GH3 version. So there are numerous things you could miss throughout this song, but I'll just show the absolute worst. I did mention earlier, Darkly does have a -3 on this song. I'm not sure where the misses were. Doesn't necessarily mean the song is that close to being done, because A, it was ages ago, and B, you know, if the -3 was like all in the Red Snake, then that's a bit of a problem, because the Red Snake is the bottleneck, which is so far in. Regardless, let me actually show you. Bridge 1. Funnily enough, probably the easiest section we've seen so far, and it's Bridge 1. But yeah, so the Bridge 1A with the trill, kind of an easier version perhaps of the Raining Blood trills, though slightly different because you have the zig after it. Bridge 1 ending pattern, you would have to be able to one-hand it, but you could rake it. I'm not sure exactly how fast it is actually. You can have a look. It's probably pretty quick. Maybe about the same speed as 1. Probably not that fast actually. Yeah, it's 20 flat. There's probably some maths I could have done to figure that out, but regardless, 20 NPS is default speed, but for only one measure. So Bridge 1, and then the Gauntlet, which would be solo fill 2, through the twin. I don't think any of this will be as hard as Bridge 1. Good thing is a lot of this song is actually just in 16ths. Excuse me. I don't know what I'm sneezing for. Here comes some money. But not the biggest money. So yeah, twin solo has the ascending trips and the descending trips, neither of them anywhere near as hard as 1 is. You've got the unconventional pattern with probably an odd strumming speed. And before then, there are some awkward parts, like solo fill 2, Sam's solo beginning with those 2 grace notes I always found difficult. and your mileage may vary with the rest, such as those orange walls in Herman's, though I wouldn't have thought that would be an issue for anyone considering going for Through the Fire and Flames on all strums. But yeah, as I mentioned, the true money is the Red Snake, because this is 26.6 knots per second. My gut tells me that if you have the correct rig for that, that's not even going to be the hardest part of the song, actually. If you were to standard strum it, of course it would be, because you have to strum 27 knots per second, even if only briefly. But if you have a 2-2 rig, then it's going to be a very simple rake pattern of ending on a down. And also you can just rake into it, because it's just, well, to be fair, it is the quads, so you'd be raking through that. Or you could just swap rakes, I mean. And one-handing the zig is pretty normal. I mean, wasn't that the way Danny Johnson did it in in the beginning? But yeah, you understand Through the Fire and Flames. A lot of it is just sixteenths. We got some notable parts that vary from that, which would make the song difficult. Easier of the two flames, probably, depending on how the Red Snake is for you. One again, this time the that was Guitar Hero 3, now we're on to Metallica, only one song left, its namesake. So exact same sections as GH3, I'll just show you what it is on this game. So, arguments can be made which of the two versions is actually harder. My heart tells me it's this one, because you don't have fast solo A or D to worry about anymore. Also, just because it looks a bit cleaner. However, one-handing descending trips is generally a bit harder than doing ascending, because naturally, because of the order of your fingers, you're going to be doing that, right? You don't start doing zigs like this. But I mean, to one-hand it, you wouldn't probably be doing individual. It'd be just like you'd pure anchor in the yellow. But that's very subtle difference. Plus, this song does have ascendings too. It's not descendings for the whole way. But yeah, not much more needs to be said about that. It's the same reason it's difficult as Guitar Hero 3. Smash hits. Now here's the one song that is easy, dare I say it. Freebird. So it hadn't been done because it's long. Not the longest song in the series though. To be honest, I played it at like 1:15 and didn't do it, so I just didn't bother going for it again. But this is by far the easiest. It can be done probably about as fast as 120 without too much difficulty. So there isn't actually much to show, if anything at all. So I'll just show you the fastest section of the song. You got basic patterns there, somewhat quick. You do have your this stuff, which could be a bit annoying, but I mean these are triplets in disguise, I guess a good example would be this section actually, solo P. I mean, it's not like you have to completely adhere to the note snap either. In fact, if you do that, then you're probably screwing yourself. So I would just do it as 16ths, to be honest. One thing that would probably be worth checking is the end. First of all, let me save you some time. This strum bit ends on a down strum, okay? But then you got almost free, which you could choke on maybe. This part particularly. So let me just demonstrate something in this section. If for any reason you find this difficult or you don't like the look of it, let me break it down. So it's just in sets of 5. Obviously this pattern is in 5s, but even these first notes are in a 5 as well, so just count in 5. If you can do it, count in 5s and you'll be good. That's one sort of skill that is underutilized, I think, in this game, is counting an odd meter or odd note snaps, so 5s, 7s, whatever. I talked about it when I did that RJA revealed in that song Meat Hook in Elite League, but it is a valuable skill to have. To strum in 5, you basically just got to accent down, then up, then down for each cycle, and it comes in so handy for stuff like this, because if you just strum this and you won't have an accent if you're just going to strum through it blindly. So you're just sort of looking for the first note and the last note, which isn't too useful actually. So if you have all of these accent points, you know exactly where you are in the strumming. It trivializes a section like this. But yeah, I'll move on because Freebird is easy, at least very easy compared to the rest. Okay. And if you didn't know, the song is 10 minutes, which is why it's not done. Play With Me is could be the easiest besides Freebird actually, but it's not easy. I'm just going to show off a few sections, the ones that you would normally tap. So this quick one, Let's Play at the end of the second chorus. Not too bad. I don't know of the note snap there. I think it's somewhere between 16th and 24s perhaps. But the solo and chorus, I might as well just play it at the end, to be honest. Actually, nothing you would tap in the solo, but it's not the easiest patterns in the world. And here's the real money. That's the hardest part of the song. However, I feel comfortable in saying now that this is definitely the second easiest. And prepare for the blue wall at the end. Something I could genuinely never do for the longest time. I would just one-hand moose it. But chorus 3A again. Let's see it. First of all, how fast is this strumming? If it's consistent from about this point, then it's not that fast. 19, slow in bridge 1. See, I could probably hit that with a bit of practice, so yeah. If you can do that, you can do the rest of the song, I believe. So, actually, yeah, if we were to get 650 soon, Freebird would go and this would go. Maybe one of the others a specialist would be looking at, but that would be my personal suggestion for a pathway. And the last one from Smash Hits, of course only got 3 from Smash Hits again, is another repeat. Truly were the greatest hits, as we have to deal with each of these twice. Through the Fire and Flames, I'll show the same sections I showed, because outside of what I showed in GH3, I don't think there's anything too outrageous. Maybe there's some sort of mini trills not in 16ths at some point, but this is where the real money is. And Bridge 1 is not Bridge 1, it's Interlude 1, right? 1A, 1B. So that's one advantage to going for this version, is that Bridge 1 ending is just trivialized. Otherwise, we'll do, not to the very end, to, what the hell is it called? Lead the Way to. I mean, something like that has been boosted in this chart. Solarfill 2 ending is probably a little easier, but obviously that's not what we're really looking at. And in this version they sort of strayed away from the 16ths. It's much more hyper accurate, if you will. Sam solo is faster. Many of the awkward grace notes from the original have been removed though. However, what there is now, Shred to Glory be. There's no way that's impossible, but that's pretty rough for a song that isn't easy outside of it. So, you add some to it and you take some away. Twin solo is easier, but what there is much harder. If we look at what used to be the Red Snake, we'll find that it's now also easier. I mean, I even hit it. So really, there is only one major section in this song, actually, that's harder on this version, and that would be Shred to Glory Be. But I mean, the rest of the solo is probably a little harder, like Herman's and that trill in Sam's, but of the big sections. And also this, which is not notable at all on GH3. Actually, it'd be worth transition out. Nice one. Ugh. I do at least want to try to hit it. So it's not actually like insane. But you gotta consider this is after everything. I mean, there are so many regular FCs that this thing has killed, including at least one of mine. So on all strums, I imagine it could be the same, depending on how well versed you are at it. But yeah, maybe I'll take back what I said. Perhaps the GH3 version is harder, but Shred to Glory B is pretty brutal. It may have actually been hit on all strums, but I'm not 100% on that. Okay, that's Smash Hits. We'll move on to GH Van Halen. of which there are 2 songs. First of them is Eruption, for obvious reasons. Triplets again. And Trills. Yeah, this trill actually is big money. So unlike many of the other songs we've seen so far, you need to consider endurance for this one. 1, I suppose, would be very tiring, but you'd probably rake it. This one, you're not going to rake it, I wouldn't have thought, because it's not fast enough. So that lasts for however long it lasts, 30 seconds. Just flat strumming. Not the worst thing in the world to one hand. Those trills are actually harder to one hand, and probably the hardest part of the song due to that. But this one is more on the easy side. Like, I would see this one coming directly after Play With Me, probably, as opposed to any of the others we've seen. Not to downplay its difficulty, though. Very short song, though, by far the shortest we have left, at only 2 minutes. Less than. And the other one for all strums is clearly not that. I'm the One, which I can never seem to escape from, but I'll show it anyway. Not really, for the same reasons it's hard on regular guitar. So not terrible that, but a pretty frustrating part to have before the big money, which is solo 2A, although it may not even be the hardest part of the song anymore on all strums. So all strums would only affect this bit before it. I'm not going to pretend I can hit that on a command. So yeah, the main thing now is that we have the ending on all strums. So not only do you have to be able to FC I'm the One, which I suppose is actually not that big of a deal on Clone Hero because you can just 2-2 rake it, but you do have to at least get to the ending to attempt this. So it's pretty quick and also not straightforward at all. It's like pretty much the most difficult, or at least fastest, big rock ending in the game. However, because that section is the hardest, and that section is quite clearly a lot easier than some of the other stuff we've seen, I would say that's probably would be the next most likely after Eruption. So I can see 4 songs that could probably be done without too much difficulty, like they seem reasonable. So Freebird followed by Play With Me followed by Eruption and I'm the One, and obviously these 2 would kill the game. In fact, 652 I think is where the stuff gets like insane. But anyway, time to move on to the final game, which is Warriors of Rock, starting off with Chemical Warfare. Could call it a 1 second song maybe. There's one section that's clearly a lot harder than the rest. But I will show Solitude too. I feel like this is one that Jarvis has either played or could do without too much trouble actually. Those trips obviously extremely fast. Don't last as long as 1 does though, but it's more, the speed continues on throughout the zigs too, so solo 2, it's nothing you would tap, but pretty odd patterns. What did I say about strumming in sevens before? So close. I had to overstrum that note. But yeah, solo 2 is not anything that would stop like someone like me being able to do a song, you know what I mean? So it is just solo 1, and the rest of Chemical Warfare is pretty much as it normally is. There's nothing in the big rock ending. So yeah, actually that one, that's one of the more likely ones, just because it has no big trills really. But solo 1 is obviously insanely hard. Next, Fury the Storm. Could be the worst of the whole thing. We'll take a look. I'll show off Raging Solo. So you got those things, which not only have the one hand, but you got to strum however fast they are. And I'm just going to show, starting off with this, because this is another one that doesn't appear very difficult, but it is endurance again. Only two major sections in a Fury of this solo. Those being G and I. G. Not the worst you've ever seen, but it's, considering I exist, it's pretty frustrating that it even exists. And here's the money. So you got to be able to one-hand solo I and also strum however fast it is. And how fast is it? Let's see. 20. Yeah, 19.99, so I guess it's slower than Bridge 1. But the combination of Raging Solo, that, and G in between, and also be having to keep enough stamina to be able to do OMG, WTF, BBQ, makes this definitely in the top 5. I mean, it's probably as hard as Flames. Flames 3 maybe, which would put it at the top. Or maybe 1's harder, I don't know. It's very hard to judge what exactly is the hardest when it comes to this. It's probably not the last one I'm going to show though, Speeding. Though Speeding is perhaps a sleeper, you wouldn't necessarily expect it to be left, but if you think about it, you'll know why. First thing we got is this. Not going to stop anyone from doing anything, but we do have holding the lead. Now, if you can trill fast enough to do that, this one is well within reach. we do have that sort of intro riff that appears right after the solo, and obviously at the beginning of the song too. But speeding, it's not one I can see being undone forever if people try to see some of these songs. It's not an appealing bunch. Even the easiest song no one wants to do because it's Freebird, you know. But that's what we have here anyway. 12 songs left. 5 games left. If you're curious about Rock Band, I'm pretty sure that disc series is done. Every single song is already UnFCed. In terms of DLC and the likes, not being weeded through, so I don't have anything to show you there. If it all gets weeded out, then I'll make another video, sure. Guitar Hero TV, if you think I didn't go through that, that's because it's also finished. Not TV, Guitar Hero Live, because TV isn't finished, obviously. Not weeded, not even touched probably. But yeah, so I said it was going to be brief and it ended up being this long. How does it always end up this way? But hopefully you learned something. Even if you didn't, thank you for watching. And I'll see you whenever I see you. So, ta-ra.